is great, and I'm excited that the rest of you from around the world are joining. Today, I'll share a little bit about me, and I guess I should start. My name's Dawne Warner. I am coming to you live from Calgary, Canada. And while I am a Saskatchewan girl, a lot of people around the world may have to Google that one. Today, I want to talk to you about, as you know, the topic is Freedom from the Darkness, Hero's Journey. And I guess to kind of clarify a little bit what I'm meaning by all of this, because I guess depending on what your perception is, could be different. When I had to put this together for Guidely, which is really exciting, I really wanted this to be a beautiful introduction to me, because I'm hopeful that I will get to connect with many of you on this platform in the months to come as one of their guides. So I thought it was fair to be a little vulnerable with you. So this is my journey into the brave unknown. And so with Freedom from the Darkness, it's the darkness within me. It's, you know, all the wounds, all those fears, those misperceptions, everything that as we get older, life happens and we cause harm to others. Others cause harm to us. It's intentional or intentional. But it still is stuff that we gather. So that's what I mean about that darkness and the hero's journey. If some of you are familiar with Joseph Campbell, I definitely love the work that he has gathered and the research. Having a bachelor's in sociology definitely resonates with me understanding people. And his thing is with respect to the hero's journey. So we see it in all of our movies. Like it's every movie just about you watch. Right? It's kind of like where you got the superhero that goes from being the average, ordinary person, goes through all the trauma, different things, a roller coaster ride, and then comes out on the top and life kind of goes back to normal, but it's a new normal. So that's definitely what I'm playing on. But my belief is that we are all those superheroes. And I know that's what Joseph Campbell was talking about, is it is finding that superhero within us. And that's really what today's talk about is. And for those of you that are here, I'm super excited because it's not for the faint of heart. To go into that cave requires a lot of courage. So for you to actually sign up and be a part of this is, you should pat yourself on the back, because it is definitely a bit of a scary journey in, and hopefully at the end of it, I've either convinced you to go a little farther in or to dive in. So definitely we'll begin with that. But I want to start with one other thing, because another belief system that I have in terms of going into the cave, and really what has been drawing me in, I guess, for a lot of my life, is this belief system. And I'm going to share it with you. It's a friend of mine, a very close friend, she's like a second mom to me, wrote a book. And it was funny, I was trying to figure out a way to articulate what I'm going to share. And I was asking Spirit, like, what do I talk about? What do I, you know, how do I kick this off? Because I only have 30 minutes or so to talk with you, and then we'll break into Q&A for a little bit. So she shared this part of her book that I had forgotten. So I'm just going to read it to you. And it's from her book called Remembering a Love Story, and I'll share the link with you at the end of the presentation. So she channeled a message January 27, 2007. And here's how it goes. It was now January, skipped the wrong part. A long time ago, far away, there lived a wonderful girl. She had many gifts, and she was special to all of those that she knew. This was a wonderful life, and she was very happy living there. She was told that there was a place out in space that had lots of boys and girls, but they didn't laugh and play like she did. They were hungry and they were lonely. Many of them had no homes. They lived in very bad conditions, and they lived without hope. One day, a very wise one came to her and asked if she would journey to such a place to help the children to once again laugh and smile. She thought about this question for quite a while. It would mean having to leave those she loved and journeying far away. It meant she would not see home for a while, and she would have to go to harsher conditions for the sake of the children. She was happy, but saw the great need on this world. The wise one said that she would never be alone and that if she believed, all her gifts and knowledge would go with her. There were also others that would go to this place as well. They would be in other parts of the world, but one day they would be united as they are together to work together. And I believe this is that time. And as Abraham said to Eve, you will be united with those that have come to this world for one purpose, and that is to heal the world. So some know that they have a mission, others are still searching for that mission. But you do know you will be given more knowledge as time goes by. We are happy that you've come, as this is your destiny. All of this you have been preparing for, Abraham. So now you know why I'm really super excited that you are here, because that means you're feeling that push to kind of connect in and find out what it is to go deeper. And I know with everything that's going in our world today, with all the chaos, and I'm definitely not going into that, because this is a beautiful place where we get to look at the gifts that are coming out of it. And I honestly do believe there's a lot of gifts. There's a lot of tragedy, but today that's not the place that I'm going to hold, is the place that with this tragedy, what's the good in it? And there's a lot, because we are getting to a place like, one, being able to gather around the world, because I would not be talking to you today without COVID and without Bailey being inspired to create this platform in this moment. So that is one really beautiful beginning. It is about bringing the best in what's out there. And like the book said, it was about the children. And I'll be honest, the reason I'm here talking to you today has everything to do with children, because it does break my heart with what's going on in our world with respect to the children, the harm, on so many levels with the the animals and the earth. And in all honesty, the only way that I know, in my belief, to heal and help save our children, our animals, and our environment is for each one of us to go into that cave. So before I kind of go into the process and some tools that I'll share with you that help me, that would hopefully help you, I'll start with a bit of my journey. And of course, like I said, we've got a short period of time, so I'm going to go in and I'll take a snippet out of my life, because I've had many. I believe when you go into the cave, you go in, you get some of the treasure, and you come out, you take a time out and a breather, and then some life happens again and you dive right in again. So I'll start with, I guess, around my early 20s. Prior to that, I would say I came in very awake. I was very connected. My entire life, I have spoken directly to God, to spirit, whatever you call it. The divinity I spoke of was God. Well, I'm not religious, not baptized, didn't go to church. I have a very, very strong belief in a bigger power. I don't know exactly what that looks like. That's, I guess, a whole other debate, discussion. But I do have always had that. And I've always had this really bright, sparkling light inside of me. And I remember when I was probably in my teens, seeing that light, but it was covered in layers of darkness. And I just remember hearing in my head, Dawn, you need to get back to that light. You need to find a way. And I'd ask, I'm like, well, what does that mean? I go there tomorrow, because it looked incredible. But I didn't know, and I didn't know what that meant. And back then, there really wasn't the research, the connection, or the supports to understand that. And so I just kind of went through my life, and my mantra that I'd gotten through my mom and others in my life was really to just not cause harm to others, to not judge others, and basically bring the best of you forward in the moment that you're at. And so that really was my mantra. So when I entered my early 20s, it became a really interesting time, because I was born young. My mom had me younger than she probably would have. I guess so did my dad. But in saying that, I was blessed in that I got to know a lot of my grandparents. I knew both of my great grandmothers on my mom and dad's side. I also got to know my grandfather, great grandfather. He passed when I was 9. My one great grandmother, 14, and my other one was my early 20s. And so the neat thing was, and I had all my other grandparents, so I was really, really blessed to have so many elders in my life, to hear their stories. And honestly, now when I look back, to hear the hardships, like My great grandmother, when she died in my early 20s, I learned how she was a war bride, which means when the war was happening, there was this belief that because of all the men that had died, that there wasn't going to be men to carry, to marry your daughters to build the lineage. And so she got married off to a 35-year-old widower when she was 13, and she went from Pennsylvania all the way to Western Canada. And I can't even imagine it. I've got a 16-year-old, and I would blow me away to be able to think that. But that was a different time, and they survived. And it really just heartens me so much to know the strength and the power that those women had. And another strong woman was my grandmother, my dad's mom. She, I guess I was the best gift for her. That's what I say anyways. I don't know if everyone would agree. I was born on her 40th birthday. And so she was very close to me. Her and my grandfather were like idolized in terms of the family, the parents that I would want to be. They really defined what family and love and unconditional love was like for me. And that just brought so much joy and honestly allowed my light for me to sparkle a little bit. However, she was diagnosed with cancer in my early 20s, not long after my great grandmother died. And I was devastated because I was so close to her and she was so young. The gift was my mom was around, and my mom started helping me to grieve. Like, how would I go through the grief process with grandma, and how could I honor grandma? And my mom was there through the whole time, and it was incredible because I dealt with some death in my life, but not a whole lot. And this was the major one. And in some ways, I guess it was good. I got to prepare for it. It was horrible watching my grandmother have to deteriorate, especially because she was the matriarch of that side of the family. She was our glue. And so we all just started to grieve, which happens, right? We all have those moments, unfortunately, in our family. But for me, this is kind of what was going on. And my mom was there. She was my rock. She always was my rock. I just pick up the phone, there she was. And interesting, the universe works in funny ways. So as mom was preparing me for grandmother's passing from cancer, what happened was she actually was killed in a car accident a month to the day before my 25th birthday, which totally devastated me, knocked me right on my butt. And then grandmother, she died 3 days before my 26th birthday. And so now here I was. I thought I was going to be living in a nursing home with my mom. I thought she'd be driving everyone crazy, and I would have to, put everything together. And she was gone. My grandma was gone, and so was my dad's side of the family because the matriarch was gone. So I ended up going into a place of really wondering, okay, what's going on? I believe in spirit. I do the best I can, and I got really angry, and I basically shut down. I went black. I didn't see the light. The light was completely gone. There was no shimmer or anything in the inside. It was gone. And the next decade, that's how I lived my life. I lived thinking, okay, I believed in a higher power. I believed in doing the right things. While I continued to do that, that would be really out of character for me. The hard part was I just thought, okay, spirit, you're not there. You're not helping me, God. Then I'll do it my way. And so what I ended up doing is I threw myself into my career. I was working 12, 18-hour days, and I just ignored any knocks at the door. I just walked away. It's like, no, you know what? I don't understand why you did this to me, but you did it to me, and I'm done. So saying that, fast forward, when I was around 34, all of a sudden I had this vision of me standing on the edge of a cliff. And I'm standing on the cliff and I look down into this huge ravine, and it's just darkness. And all of a sudden I just started to feel this sudden sadness, deep sadness inside me. And I was like, if I don't change things now, I will lose me forever. And that terrified me to the point that I know mentally I wasn't getting it, but all of a sudden my soul spoke, and all of a sudden I'm standing in my basement, believe it or not, verbalizing up to God or the higher power and saying, if you don't do something to help me quick, I won't be able to hang in there. And 6 months later, I was pregnant with my son. And that's really when my journey out of the darkness out started to shift again. When I gave birth to my son, Noah, I held him. And interesting enough, I wasn't curious about how I was going to parent him. The words that came to me was, Dawne, you have to now figure out how to guide him through life. He needs that. He's an old soul, but he needs the wisdom and the guidance of how to navigate this world, which was something I wasn't doing well at. I was working, I was hiding in my work. I wasn't having the greatest, healthiest relationships. So it was the awakening for me. And so when I talk about the cave and going in, while my son became that light point, he also became that pivotal point for me to have to go into the cave within me. Because what happened was, is it wasn't just all, parties and happiness and joy. I had to go in and face all those wounds. I had to go into the childhood traumas. I had to go in even the harm that I'd caused myself in the past 10 years and harm that I'd caused to Noah's dad when I was with him, and just all that stuff that comes from when we hide from our emotion, when we hide from ourselves. And so this journey, while it's simple, it's not easy. And I take that from Kevin Sorbo. I saw that one of his movies and I was like, I love that line, because really the process to heal, it's really simple, but it is definitely not for the faint of heart. It does require some will, some strength, and determination. And it takes you getting to the point to say, you know what? I'm tired of waking up every day, of being tired, of seeing the negativity, of seeing the fear and living with this deep pent up fear. I'm not living this way anymore. And it takes you getting to that point that you want to start seeing that light, that joy, that inner peace, even in the chaos and the storm. And so that's what, by doing this journey work, going into the cave really is exciting about. In the beginning, it's a lot harder, depending on how many wounds, how many issues you have ticked away, emotional baggage, and even ancestral wounds, because I do believe we come in with ancestral wounds. It's within our DNA. It's within a genetic makeup. It's there. So that harm or the wounds, if they didn't clean it up in their life, we get to carry it over into our life. And so I believe now that's what our purpose for being in here is. We're not World War II. We're not having to worry about being war brides. We're not having to face some of those major things. We're in this beautiful space where our world is in a better place. So it really is about going in. And I believe our generation is responsible for this. We keep saying we want to save the children, and my concern is our children are doing wonderful if we would start respecting and honoring them. They're coming in as these beautiful souls. If you see them, so many of them just light up. So many people you say like, oh my gosh, they're learning everything faster. They're a different soul than we were. But our thing is, we have to do our work. We individually have to do that, and we can, because the cool part is we don't have to do it alone anymore. There's people like myself, the team of Guidely, and the one thing is, when you ask Spirit and you surrender to say, hey, okay, I'm going to do it, I'm going to dive in, the supports come, they show up, they really honestly do. So it is about connecting with that piece of you. So I'm going to jump into now some of the tools that worked. And one other thing where one of the major tools happened for me is I jumped forward to 2012. I was going through a really difficult time at my work. It was working grueling hours and a lot of conflict. There's layoffs, reorganization, just a lot of fun stuff. And I was blessed to take a coaching course through the University of Calgary. And I signed up, and I wasn't sure. I wanted to coach because I wanted to help people. That's kind of what I love to do. And so I did this course, but I didn't really look at it closely because I was too busy. And when I started, and I thought I'd done all this deep work on myself, I thought, oh, great, I can go in and figure out how to coach people. This is going to be great, easy. And then I found out this coaching program, the first part of it was going into your stuff, because their belief, which is true, is how do you coach and help others until you heal? lot of the parts of yourself. And so the next 6 months, I spent having to go in deeper of clearing that out. And this wasn't for the faint of heart. There's maybe people, friends on the call that were part of that group and recognize people that ran from the room. There's one gentleman, and it'd be wonderful. I pray for him. He walked out in 20 minutes. Like he literally, full suit, he ran. So he was expecting the coaching program, I think I was. But I got the coaching program that I prayed for. And so I went deeper into that cave. And when I came out so much more clean and shiny. But one of the things that they taught us was the OR model, and an acronym, of course, and I'll break it down for you. But it was a beautiful awakening for me because it taught me how to be able to switch on and reconnect my head to my heart, because part of closing down for that 10 years was I became very logical. It was like I started thinking my emotions instead of feeling my emotions. And so the connection between my head and my heart, I had severed it. I totally had severed it because of the harm that had been caused to my heart. And I didn't want to heal the grief. I just shut her down. And so I became very strong and very logical. And so this OR model, which means observe, action, and then it's got the results. And so the cool thing of it is to really go and do any of the rewiring to shift and heal. My belief, which I learned from the Neufeld Institute, was you have to go back and learn how to observe you, which I think is kind of cool because you think of in our society, and maybe you're not like me, but when you go to the malls or their food courts and you get to sit back and observe everybody and see, okay, well, why do they do that? Why are they like that? And we go into a state of judgment, and it's easier to observe others than ourselves. So the nice thing is with the OR model, you turn it on you, because to do this inner journey work, it really is about you having to observe you, because if you don't know what's going on with you, how do you shift it? How do you heal it, right? So the observing of you is more important before you jump into the other stuff, because you need to observe what are those belief systems that are serving you? What are those perceptions? What are the wounds? So when someone says something or does something to you and you get angry or frustrated or sad or whatever that emotional trigger is, it's what caused that? Because my belief is that those are the gifts. While those teachers come into our life and they drive us crazy, I'd rather be around a group of people where they're not triggering me. But when they do, that is the gift, because that's a sign of a wound that needs to be healed next. And if we're watching for it, we know where to go. Because our belief systems come innate. Like I said, I believe they come in ancestral, and they come in before we can even walk and talk. Like my cousin's baby, Pippa. She's just this bright-eyed baby taking in the world, but she's also learning different belief systems, and she doesn't even know she's learning those, and her parents don't know she's learning that. So that's the part you've got to come back to. You've got to scale it back. So I really encourage you that if you're willing, after chatting with me today, to go into journey and start to begin going into that cave, to take that step back and observe you. Get a little book and write down, you know, what triggered you, what your emotion was, and then what was the outcome. Because, and it's going to be hindsight, right? Because in the moment it's a little hard, so you've got to process it and then come back. So even if you do it after the end of the day, every night, writing in your journal, and kind of then maybe at the end of the week saying, okay, is there a pattern? What's going on? Because the underlying belief is based on the beliefs and perceptions and the observer you are is how you're operating your life, right? It's your operation system. And a lot of it's your subconscious. You don't even know consciously. And that's why you have to do this. You have to consciously start observing you, because what happens is those unconscious patterns, then they dictate how that you make choices, decisions. And I do want to put out there, which is obvious, but just to state it, a non-decision is a decision, right? So many people say, well, I didn't make a decision. I didn't make a choice, but you do. So you need to own that. And this is part of that. And then the outcome, the result comes. And you might not like it. So what happens when, you know, we make plan A, B, C. So we try plan A, didn't work, we go to plan B, didn't work, or similar, C, close, but you made it being the same observer. You didn't change the beliefs, you didn't change the perception. So you're going to come out with a similar outcome. So if you're wanting to really make major shifts in your life, it is going to take going back to really connect to your subconscious operating system, so then you can rewire it, redo it, and reprogram yourself so that you can start having the outcomes and making the choices that are more meaningful to your life and are sticking, because that really is going to make a huge difference in you moving forward. And I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. And that's like one small piece, because I know we're getting down close to Q&A time, but I do want to share with you a little bit too, when you are going into that observation state, is observing your body, observing the language, as well as the words that you're using. It is so important. So it's your emotions, your body, and the language, because the self-talk, which we hear, to not self-talk it, but until you really listen to it, right? So it's that observer piece. And I'm just going to throw out there, one of the reasons, again, that I'm here today is solely because I really do believe that each of you matter, and each of you have such a divine purpose to be that change that we need. I look out at the world today and I could get really upset and bitter, but I choose to believe in humanity. I choose to believe in you, and that you have that inner strength to do it. And even knowing it's not going to be easy, that you know you're going to do it, because we've got a platform now like Guidely. You've got people in and around your community. Your tribe does show up. I have to say, anytime that I have committed to going to a new path and a new level, the people, the resources have all come up. Guidely's one perfect example. Honestly, in July, I was asking, after doing some spiritual journey work, because that's what I did with my COVID time, is I just went deeper into that cave and cleaned out more stuff. And then I asked, how do I share this? How do I get out there to support people that are wanting to do this work but don't know how to do it? And then Guidely showed up 3 weeks later, and here I am. Never would have thought it. And that's what I mean. Miracles happen in a moment. And I'm just so honestly grateful to be here with all of you today. I will share one document with the OR model so that you can take that away. It's got my email on there, and I would definitely love to hear from any of you. But if you want, drop some questions in the Q&A, because I don't want to go over time. And I definitely, if there's some questions or curiosities you've got, I would love to definitely connect in with you. Because you're taking your Saturday or Sunday, depending on the time zone, I guess, to be here. And that just has such a place of gratitude. So if you want to do some questions, that would be wonderful. And we'll pick it up from there. If not, I'll just keep sharing stories. But let's see what else I can share. One thing that I am going to, I guess, share with you a little bit is some of the practices, because I was on another call today on one of the Guidely and watching someone's workshop, which is beautiful. I was so excited to hear from other people. But I started to wonder, because it was tools to how do you do this work. And I really want you to know that it's trusting your inner compass that's really important. And in the beginning, I did a lot of things. I went drumming, I listened to chants, kundalini, that kind of music and stuff. There's different things that I did to fill me up. If you're more creative, you could do it through journaling, writing, coloring, which is a lot. The action part of more, absolutely. I might have skipped that, hey? Okay, let me see. You know, I'm gonna share, let's see, I'm gonna step out of my thing and see if I can share my screen with you. Bear with me, where did it go? No, I don't want to share that. Because the action parts, honestly, of OR is going to be what you choose, right? And so it's going to be the choices that you make. So based on the preconceived belief systems, perceptions that you have, that's what's going to dictate it. It's going to be really about what decision you're making it on and the actions or choices that you take. So it is being mindful of what those are. But I'm going to pull this up so you can kind of see the breakdown. So this is the part I was talking about, is that you've got the language. So this beginning part, language, emotions, and bodies, is that observer part. And then so what you're asking about is the actions point. So that is going to be how you live your life. So that's how the choices that you make, the decisions, your problem solving is all going to be based and formulated on how you feel. How your body is responding. Like, do you have that sinking gut feeling? Does this feel good? And the words and the language you use all implant and build those subconscious programs and belief systems. So that is going to create your action choice and the behavior and really how you choose to live your life. How do you get up in the morning to move forward? Going into then the outcome or the results. So it's kind of like if you're saying, okay, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to start doing yoga because I love doing yoga, or, you know, this is this new part of what do I need to do in my life. But in the background, your words are like, well, I don't know if I know how. I don't think I'd be good at it. I don't know what time I should get up at. And so it's the stories that we tell ourselves. So then you're not going to do it. And it's kind of like taking that first step is really kind of that key part. And through all of this, the one thing I do want to make sure I mention is we really got to have compassion for ourselves. Like we really, that's honestly, guys, what got me through this was I had to start with learning how to be compassionate with me. So that when I would stumble and fall and say one thing and the next day I didn't do it, I had to say, it's okay, Dawn, that just wasn't your day. Tomorrow you'll get it. So hopefully, Melva, I answered your question. Next one, oh, Robbie, okay, let's see. Robbie's telling us, I struggle with trying to get there when I go into my cave. Get that. I know there is no place to get to and we are where we need to be, but I am impatient. If I have a goal, it doesn't happen. And when I just be, something happens. So right now I'm dismantling belief systems and books show up for me magically. Yes, awesome. But then I get stuck in the spokes of that and in my head. How do you get out of the rung or the spoke of something when you get into the next shift? Robbie, great question. And you know what? It still happens to me. What happens is you end up becoming more aware of being stuck. And so when you're stuck in the spokes, I like your analogy, when you get stuck in that spoke, is be compassionate with you. And again, remember, it's layers. So if you're getting stuck, that means that there's another block, there's another barrier, which you get that part, I get it. So now it's getting curious of where did that come from? So some of the questions you can even play with yourself is, okay, so I'm stuck here. Okay, what is it? What's the fear? And you'll be like, I don't know, I'm stuck. It's dark, it's black, I don't know, I'm stuck here. So then you go in and you start talking to your mind, and it's like, so if you did know what it would be, and I should also tell you, throw in the astrology, I'm a Gemini, so I also end up having this kind of dual talk in my head. So it's like I start to visualize my head and my heart talking to each other. And it really is talking to your mind and just trying to find out, why are you stuck? What are you afraid of? And a lot of times what I'll do is I go, okay, you're afraid you might get embarrassed. You're afraid that you won't be able to show up the way you should be. So what I'll even say is, well, how about we just get curious about it? So my other mantra to help me get through the spokes is, I'm going to be open and curious about this. And I don't have to continue this path, but I'm going to go down it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I can come back. So in my head, I visualize having this conversation with this part of my ego, a mental, the part that's trying to protect us, right? And you know, there's different talk around ego and stuff about tossing it out or whatever, but I believe it's your friend. And I really look at my ego as this scared little part of me that's trying to protect me. And so I just ask it to have a seat on the couch. Let's go through, let's try this new experience and opportunity. If it doesn't work, that's okay, we'll come back. And in all times, I always find out that it's doing fine and I get to move forward. And that's been successful for me to get out. And yes, I know it sounds crazy and afraid of sounding crazy. I think that's half this journey, Robbie. And I think what you end up finding out is once you get into this work, that's the common thing. We all just kind of preface it with saying, I know this is going to sound crazy, but here's how it went. And the cool thing is it's not crazy. It really, really isn't. That again is a whole other belief system that's been put out there to keep us disconnected from trusting our heart, from trusting that inner knowing that is so powerful. We know, we're just terrified. We've been taught that since we were little. I used to be told all the time that I was over emotional, that um, yeah, it was cried all the time, but that's how I did it. And, you know, and I feel bad for kids. Like I remember my son came to me and was upset about something, started crying. He said, "Oh, mom, real men don't cry." And I was like, "Whoa, we need to stop." And I was like, "No, you know what? Everyone does. We all need to cry. We need to let that stuff out." So, Robbie, I just tell you to embrace your craziness. And if the books are coming to you, which is awesome, that means other resources, other people will come. And you showed up here in Guiley, so I'm pretty confident you're probably getting some great information out of that. So I am super excited to hear about that. And if you did want to connect with me a little bit more, we can go a little bit deeper into what's going on with you. I know I am giving away a free workshop, time with me. I'm not sure how that works yet, but I will figure out how I do a draw. And yeah, I would love to work with all of you, even just to connect with you. I've got my website. You can also link in with me on Instagram, Facebook. There's Lightwing Alchemy. It's what I named it. And yeah, and I guess even in terms of the name, I can share a little bit about that. Name came to me, Lightwing Alchemy, probably about 10, 15 years ago, I guess 10 years ago. I thought it was a bit crazy. Alchemy, nobody knew the word. Spirituality was still kind of woo-woo. And but it's that spiritual alchemy. It's about that finding that gold within you. And so yeah, my tagline you'll find is Lightwing Alchemy on Facebook and Instagram. So I'll do that. I don't know, I'm going to try something. I'm going to see if I can drop this document that I just popped up here with you into the chat and see if you guys can get it. I don't know if people will be able to get it if you're on mobile. I know we tried practicing it and it wasn't working, but again, if I can't get it on here, we can definitely find a way to share it if you want to get this information. It's not letting me drop it in like I did offline, so sorry about that. But yeah, send me an email, and what I just shared with you on the screen, I'd absolutely love to share. Oh, Eve's book, yeah, awesome. Eve's book is called Remembering a Love Story. Oh, hang on, my screen. Eve Thomas, you can find it on Amazon.com. She's got the, of course, the electronic Kindle version you can download, or you can buy the hard copy. I recommend the hard copy. Eve is, when you talk about blessings, she's my second mom, because having a strong female figure in my life has been so important to me. And with the absence of my birth mom, Eve came into my life in and around that 10 years ago. And yeah, has just been such a rock and such a wise part to my journey, and loving me unconditionally, which some days I know it's more easy than others. So looks like we're down to the wire. If there is a last question, I might be able to take one. Otherwise, I'm probably going to wrap things up because I don't want to go over time and give everybody a chance to connect with Deepak. But listen, I thank you all so much for your time. And those of you that are going to join after or go back and replay, just remember you're not alone. The resources show up. You just got to have that faith. And honestly, it gets easier. And in closing, I'll just share with you, and we talked to Robbie about being craziness. It's crazy because now I still have life happen to me, guys. Like my life is definitely not all, you know, rainbows and unicorns. But what happens now, I'll be going through one of those dark moments, and this part of me is sitting here crying, going through all the emotions it needs to go through. This other part of me is super excited. It's like the cheerleading squad, because it's like, Dawne, when you get through this, guess what? You're going to just be that much lighter, and so many other issues are gone, and yay, isn't this awesome? So that's really the craziness, Robbie, that goes into a person's head when you start doing this. And it almost becomes another form of addiction, but it's definitely one that's a lot more healthy and fun. So I hope I've inspired you to tap into the experience of doing it, but I also encourage you to make sure that you reach out to others. Don't do it alone, because it can be fun, but it can be really scary in moments and stuff. So please make sure that you create some source, some support, and ways to reach out. And I am here, so drop me a line even on a social media platform or through email, and I'll definitely be there to support you. So thank you all so very, very much. I send so much love to all of you and your families, and wherever you are. Hopefully one day we'll connect in the real world again, but till then, namaste. Yeah, just so much love, and thank you for having the courage to take this time for you. This is a beautiful self-care moment. So thank you, thank you, thank you.